My name is Caroline Ylioja. I work for a feed mill in Oakdale, California as a nutritionist. I've only been there for about 4 months now, but so far my job description would include mostly formulating diets and mixes for dairy cattle. My office is across the street from the mill, part of which you can see here. I remember this day because it was the first day it had rained since I moved here 2 months earlier. Here's just the inside of our mill where the micro ingredients are weighed out. I also work with the guys in the mill to figure out substitutes when we're out of something or when we need an alternative for a certain ingredient. I also help with quality control in the mill as it relates to sampling ingredients and making sure they meet, for example, the protein content that we expect. I also get to visit dairies on occasion and troubleshoot problems they might be having. I've really enjoyed getting to see some of the different types of livestock operations around here and getting to see and work with some of the feeds that are unique to this part of the country, such as the waste fruits and vegetables during harvest season. So just a little bit about my background. I grew up with beef cattle on a cow-calf operation on the Canadian prairies. Helping my dad feed cows every day after school was where my interest in livestock began. I spent a few years after high school working at a few different jobs because I didn't really know what I wanted to go to school for. So I worked at a bakery for a while. I worked for a greenhouse a couple of summers. I went to Finland and worked as a nanny for a couple of years, or for a bit over a year. Traveled a bit in between, and then finally I decided that I missed agriculture and I missed the cows and that it was time to go back to school. So I did my undergrad at Michigan State University, and I was planning to go to vet school to be a livestock veterinarian because that was the job where I knew I could work with livestock. I joined the Dairy Club and Block and Bridle, as well as an undergrad research club where we got to conduct projects with dairy heifers and with swine. One of my friends was in the driving club, and we had fun hitching up the horses and wandering the back roads on campus. I also worked at the sheep unit on campus a couple days a week, feeding animals and helping with lambing and whatever else needed to be done. I really liked my animal nutrition class, and I got a job working for one of the dairy nutrition faculty, and I got to work with his grad students in the lab as well as out on the dairy. And that's when I figured out I really didn't want to do 4 years of vet school and study medicine, but I'd rather do grad school and study livestock nutrition. So then I went on to do my PhD at Kansas State University. My research in grad school was kind of a mix of nutrition, lactation physiology, molecular biology, bioinformatics, and immunology. One of my projects looked at inflammation in early lactation dairy cows. We had seen interesting results where older cows given anti-inflammatories right after calving had increased milk production over the whole next lactation. So the goal of my research was to look at what's happening at the molecular level of the mammary gland to try to figure out the mechanism. We also did some research with byproduct feeds in dairy cattle diets, looking at can we improve the efficiency of our human food production systems by minimizing how much human edible feeds we feed to cattle. This would mean, for example, minimizing the use of things like corn and soybeans and feeding more things that can be eaten by people, such as corn byproducts or almond hulls that are so common here in California. And then another of my projects looked at some components of colostrum and whether there are additional metrics we can use to improve how we determine colostrum quality. So the job I'm in now, basically I found it through a recruiter. Someone I knew in the dairy industry forwarded me an email that someone was looking for a PhD nutritionist, and so I answered that email and had a phone conversation, and then eventually a visit to California to interview in person, and then got an offer, and then here I am. So the company that I work for specifically wanted someone with a PhD. So far, I think it'd be possible to do what I'm doing with a master's. And you may have picked up on this, but the job I'm in isn't really related to what research I did in grad school. I did some nutritional research, and I took a lot of classes related to ruminant nutrition and nutritional physiology that helped qualify me for this job. During my undergrad, I also worked at the sheep unit on campus, and so they also liked that I had experience with multiple species of ruminants. But I think the key is to realize what you don't know and to know where to go for the answers. And actually, I think that's probably key for any job that you're in. So advice for freshman animal science student. Probably just to learn as much as you can about the different areas within animal science, and don't assume that you won't need to know something down the road. Try and get a variety of different experiences. I think this will help you figure out what you like and what you don't, and it will look good on your resume, and it will teach you things. I went on a 2-week study abroad to the Netherlands, and it was really eye-opening. All the dairies that I'd been on in the US seemed to run their dairies pretty similarly, but in the Netherlands there was so much variety in how different dairies were run, and it gave me lots of new ideas and taught me that there's not only one right way to do things. Approach each class with the attitude of learning as much as you can, rather than just getting the good grades or passing the class.